Biomes. Here we go. Adaptations and biomes. Okay, so looking at this second piece that we didn't talk about in the first video, adaptations are things that help species survive. Okay, there's behavioral, structural, and physiological adaptations for each. Okay, there are examples of each types of adaptations, so let's be fun and let's bust out some grade 7 projects, because why not? We have them handy and they popped in my head as I was thinking here, and some of them are quite spectacular. So when we did our species project this year, my students had to do some examples. Okay, so this one was a kangaroo, and it has all kinds of different adaptations. So a structural adaptation that they have is like, how are they built differently? Okay, they have the pouch to put the babies in, the kangaroo, the joey. They have tails that they help use for balance. Okay, they've got nice big long ears to help them hear and just provide a little bit of shade. One of the behavioral adaptations, so those are structural. Okay, structural. Behavioral is what they do. Okay, so a kangaroo is able to run really fast. Okay, like hoppity run, hippity hoppity, hippity hoppity. And they can kick predators if they want. They can kind of lean on their back tails. I made that up, but wouldn't that be cool if they did? And then and they lick their paws to get them wet, so that they evaporate, so they cool off faster. Okay, and then physiological has to do with like their biology. So the fact that it would be a mammal, for example, would be an adaptation. Okay, and I find the kids really have a hard time thinking of the adaptations, so I'm going to give you some more examples because you were in grade 7 only a few years ago. Okay, so here's a walrus. We have the teeth, okay, these big tusks. That's an adaptation that helps them. I don't know what that's for. I think it's for hunting, I suppose. Or what's that called? Fighting. When you're fighting with the other bull walruses. Okay, being very fat is good. They have blubber that helps insulate them from the cold water they swim in. Okay, and so one of the things the students had to do was they had to clearly. I'm trying to zoom in more, but it won't let me. Okay, they had to clearly show the adaptations separately. Okay, so this one's talking about the tail, this one's talking about the baby in the pouch, okay, the ears and the leg muscles. Okay, where's this guy's adaptations? Yeah, see, tusks. There's a specific adaptation, blubber. Their whiskers, let's see, what are the whiskers for? They use their sensitive whiskers to locate shellfish. Okay, because they eat things like clams and mussels, is my guess. And they have a great sense of smell, which is an adaptation too. Oh, there we go, nice and zoomed in. So they have a lot more elasticity, that's hard to say. So they don't, which is good because, you know, they're bouncing around all the time. So they can't be rupturing an Achilles tendon like some basketball players do, because that hurts. You know. So those are physical adaptations that help them survive. The actual jumping part is a behavior. Okay, so the fact that a scorpion has that pokey thing on its tail, okay, that stabby with venom, okay, that's going to help it survive because it can't go to the grocery store. It needs to hunt. Deer, excellent camouflage, right? That would be physiology. Oh, these words are tough. Physiological, tongue twister. Let's look at it. Okay, now you say it. Yes, there you go. Physiological. Well, okay, those are how you're born, structure, and in terms of your body. Okay, structural is like your bones. Behavioral is what you do. There you go. Okay, so adaptations, done. Now we have biomes. Okay, there's open and closed systems within the biome. So if it's absolutely shut, like you're in a fish bowl, okay, that is a closed system. Nothing water-wise, the fish can't go in and out. If they do, they die. Okay, the air can go in and out, but otherwise it's a reasonably closed system. Okay, our planet. Technically aliens can come here, but we consider it a closed system. Open systems are where movement can occur. Okay, we have flow in and out of a different environment. Like classroom with the door open, kids come and wander around from class to class. Open system. Closed system is if with the door shut, kids can't get out. Like in lockdown. Okay, so that was our adaptations page. Okay, I also wanted to talk to you about this presentation about biomes that a friend of mine made that she uses with her students. So I figure if they get to see it, you get to see it. Biosphere has to do with circle. Okay, anytime you see sphere, that means circle, right? But three-dimensional. Bio, living thing. So within here, a single thing is an individual. This is grade 9 stuff, but it's review. Okay, an individual is just one. Population, that's noisy, somebody's making a smoothie. Population is a group of that particular species. Okay, community is other species as well that live in that same area. Then you have an ecosystem, which is the species in that area and the non-living things as well. So these first three, you'll only count the living things, so just the elk herd. Okay, in this case, it would be adding the moose, and what is that? Is that a wolf? Coyote, maybe? Sure. Okay, a rabbit, a beaver, and an owl. Okay, and then in the ecosystem, we should have had the eagle and the bear in this community, but you'd also be adding the air, the tree, the rocks. Those are called abiotic components. And different biomes will have different populations and communities. Okay, so this is where we're talking desert, tundra, grassland, and depending on which chart you look at, okay, there you always get different amounts, right? Some people say, oh, tundra, taiga, grassland, desert, rainforest, the end. Okay, but sometimes people say, well, yeah, but sometimes there's extra wet rainforest, and sometimes there's kind of a high humidity savanna, right? They're usually more, more lush than a desert, but not quite as lush as a forest, right? So my recommendation to you is watch a lot of nature shows. Okay, there's some excellent programs on Disney Plus if you are able to get that. Anything narrated by David Attenborough is good, or Will Smith has a new, well, not that new, but a more adventure-y sized one. Yeah, Bill Nye has some good nature shows too, if you look for them. And I would love to show you them, but they are copyright, unfortunately, so can't. Next one. Okay, so what's a habitat? Habitat is a place an organism lives. And in some people's habitat is other species they don't want. We call those pests. Okay, like a cucaracha sometimes lives in your house, a cockroach. Okay, so if you're a fish, you probably live in a pond or a fish bowl or an ocean or a river. This is a mite. A mite is a bug. That's gross. Why would she put that as an example? Okay, a mite lives on the feathers of a bird. Okay, those are bugs. It's like lice, head lice, gross. Okay, so that's habitat. Ecosystem is the community of living organisms. So that's this here. That's the species and how it interacts with its environment. Okay, so not quite as broad as a biome, but you might say something like a prairie ecosystem or a woodlands ecosystem. Okay, or in this case, a worm in the soil. Okay, next bit is the biome. So we're kind of going biggest to smallest. I find sometimes the questions you'll see on this is what's more specific and what's more general. Okay, specific, general. Okay, so what's this? What do these words go? This is saying that different species adapt for different climates. Okay, so the species that are able to live in the Sahara Desert, like, I don't know, lizards, camels, cactuses. Mostly nothing in this main piece of the Sahara Desert. They are not going to be able to survive in the Himalayas, for example, like the, mountain goats are able to. Okay. Everything has different adaptations for where they live. Okay, what is the specific definition of adaptation? It's a trait or characteristic, like sharp teeth or warm fur, that helps an organism survive and reproduce in its environment. Okay, and that happens over time because of natural selection. Yes, evolution. Okay, which you spent some time in grade 9 learning about. Okay, just to jog your memory on that one, because it might have been a little while ago, or you might have not learned it at all if you were online. Okay, I'm opening up the right page here for you. Okay, Charles Darwin. Right, he said that he did this whole study on finches. Okay, so there's Charles Darwin. If you didn't have a favorite scientist outside of Albert Einstein, then Charles Darwin can be your favorite, if you like. Okay, that's what he looked like in most of the pictures. Okay, so he went on a holiday to study some turtles and spent a lot of time noticing that if they were cut off by a particular island, that they evolved differently than their neighbors because they were only able to reproduce with their own kind and they couldn't mix genes, so whoever was best adapted for survival, because they either had a longer neck or a thicker shell or whatever, they passed on their genes. Okay, so he also did a lot about finches. He noticed some finches and wrote a book. Okay, so now if you do something cool, you have a YouTube channel. Now, back then you had to write a book. So this was a big deal, right? To say, oh, I think evolution exists. And a lot of people didn't agree. And a lot of people still don't agree. They think evolution is a hoax. But the main reason is because they say, oh, it's because we evolved from chimpanzees. You guys have seen those pictures, eh? What is that called? Hang on, this might not be dress code. Let's check. Oh yeah, see, it's okay. Quite often they have it look like, let's look at this picture, like humans came straight from this particular species. Let me find it for you. I'll make it big. Okay, where the dab, that's hilarious. Okay, that we went through this sort of chimpanzees type of phase, but we actually branched off a lot earlier. Okay, so yeah, we're Homo sapiens, but in terms of the tree of life, I will look for that for you. We branched off earlier. So you're thinking, what exactly are we going off on a tangent here for? Okay, it's because lots of people argue about evolution. Okay, so technically we are what's called a primate. Okay, but we are not that closely related to the other species. Okay, like yes, we're more related to a chimpanzee and a gorilla than we are lemurs. Okay, but we still have our own branch. Okay, and if I typed in evolutionary tree for you, evolution. Okay, where's my favorite one? My favorite one is this one. I have the poster in my classroom. Okay, this is a visualization of all the different species, right? So they had to branch off somewhere in terms of different adaptations they have for survival. Okay, so what does that have to do with what we're learning? Different things are adapted for different biomes. Okay, you have different characteristics that are going to help you survive in a particular region. Okay, so physiological adaptation is what helps you maintain homeostasis. That means stay balanced, right? So if we get too hot, we have the ability to sweat. Dogs can pant. Okay, things like a lizard has to go find some shade.